Welcome back to the deep dive. It is March 2026.
Yep.
Just take a second and let that date sink in for you. We are deep into the mid-20s now, and usually, we're here picking apart a historical event or maybe some complex piece of geopolitical news. But today we're doing something a little different. We are looking at the pulse of culture right now.
Right.
Because I have a stack of sources in front of me that is, honestly, it's heavy. We're looking at the March 2026 Indie Showcase and this really fascinating, dense report titled The New Urban Vanguard.
It is a heavy stack, but I mean, it's a necessary one. And I think that date you mentioned is the most critical part of this intro.
Yeah.
March 2026.
Yeah.
Because if you think about the last 5 or 6 years, the music industry has been promising this massive democratization. Everyone can be an artist, right? That was the pitch.
Right, anyone with a laptop.
Exactly. But what we are seeing in these documents is the dust finally settling on that promise.
Yeah.
And what is emerging is, well, it's really not what the major labels predicted.
No, it's definitely not. And I want to set the expectations for you, the listener, right off the bat here, because this is not a playlist review. I'm not just going to read off a list of songs you should add to your gym mix. We are looking at a tectonic shift. We are tracking this restless cohort of about 25 artists who are completely redefining the job description of a musician.
I'd say redefining is the polite way to put it. I think they're dismantling it.
Yeah.
When you look at the new Urban Vanguard report, the traditional path of, get discovered on TikTok, sign a 360 deal, let the label handle the boring business stuff that is almost entirely absent here.
Yeah, it's gone.
Instead, you see this move toward what I call extreme ownership. You have artists who are building empires, clothing lines, publishing companies, all before they even have a chart-topping hit.
And the sounds. I mean, we are going to get into the business side because honestly, some of these corporate structures are wilder than the music itself. But the sounds are what hooked me first. The report calls them sonic cartographies. I love that term.
It's so evocative.
It implies they're drawing entirely new maps.
It's a great metaphor because genres aren't just blending anymore. They're colliding. You have electronic music architecture applied to trap beats. You have orchestral sweeps, like literal film score strings crashing into hip-hop.
So here is the mission for this deep dive. We are going to explore how this specific group of 25 artists is moving away from dependency and creating these new worlds. We're going from Niagara Falls to Bothaville, South Africa, from Kaufman, Texas to Benin City.
It's a global tour, but I'm really interested in the patterns here. There is a specific mogul mindset, but also a sheer technical precision. That's the thing that surprised me the most. This isn't sloppy, I made this in my bedroom lo-fi stuff. This is a high-fidelity independence.
Okay, let's unpack this. I want to start with the sound itself. Section 1 of our stack here calls these guys the sonic architects.
Sonic architects. That implies structure, planning, and design. It's not just kids jamming.
Exactly. And the first name that jumps out, and frankly, the one that confused me the most at first, is Tone 123, also known as Anthony Cairns. Now, the source describes his sound as a collision of subterranean low-end with crystalline atmospherics.
It's a mouthful, but let's break it down.
Well, I mean, when I hear subterranean, I just instantly think dirty, right? Gritty, underground. But crystalline is clean, it's sharp, it's beautiful. How do those two things live in the exact same song?
That is the genius of Tone 123. He represents this hybrid of electronic music and rap. But, and this is really crucial, it's not just rapping over a techno beat. We've heard that a million times, and it usually sounds terrible.
Yeah, super cheesy.
Right. What Anthony Cairns is doing is applying the physics of electronic music to the structure of hip-hop.
Explain that. What do you mean by the physics?
Okay, so in traditional hip-hop, especially boom bap, you have a loop. It repeats. It's hypnotic. In electronic music, you have a journey. Sounds evolve, filters open up, things get brighter or darker over time. The source notes that Tone 123 uses skittering hi-hats and 808 pulses, that's the hip-hop skeleton, but they lock in with glacial synth pads.
Glacial synth pads. I just love that image. It makes me think of something vast and slow-moving like an iceberg while the drums are just frantic underneath.
Precisely. It creates tension. A glacier moves inches a year, but a hi-hat moves 16 times a second. That contrast is the architecture. He's taken the texture of electronic music, the sound design, the synth work, and applying it to the aggression of rap.
The report mentions it creates a vivid cinematic vibe that feels intimate yet stadium-ready, which to me is such a hard balance to strike. Usually stadium music feels really distant, and intimate music feels, well, small.
It proves that genre is a palette, not a prison. He isn't trapped by the rules of trap or the rules of EDM. He's painting with all the colors.
Speaking of cinematic, we have to talk about JOHNEPIC. I mean, the name alone, JOHNEPIC, sets a pretty high bar. If you call yourself epic, you better not come with a ukulele.
He definitely does not come with a ukulele. He is explicitly described as a sonic architect as well, but his lane is what the report calls orchestral trap.
Okay, I have to be honest here. When I read orchestral trap, I rolled my eyes a little bit. It sounds like a gimmick. You know, like when a heavy metal band plays with the symphony and it just ends up sounding messy?
I had the exact same skepticism. It usually sounds like a cheap keyboard preset. But look at the description of his tracks. Diamonds in Munster. The source says, epic orchestral sweeps crash headfirst into the gritty pulse of trap beats. The key word there is crash.
That's aggressive.
Oh, it's violent. It's all about contrast. The report calls it grandiose but grounded. That's a fascinating duality. You have the highbrow, sweeping strings that suggest something massive, like a Hans Zimmer score, but then the drums tether it right down to the pavement.
It's like the soundtrack to a movie that hasn't been made yet.
Exactly. And that's a theme we see with a lot of these instrumentalists. They aren't just making beats for someone to rap over. They are creating scores for life.
Now, if we pivot slightly from the epic to the surgical, we run into Mr. Lee and Nobody Music. This is where we get into the engineer's touch. And I really want to spend a minute here because the report gets surprisingly technical.
This is a crucial distinction in 2026. In the past, the artist was the face, and the engineer was the guy behind the glass turning the knobs, usually just paid by the hour. Now, with artists like Mr. Lee, the technical skill is the art.
The description of Mr. Lee's work is a study in restrained intensity.
Restrained intensity. That implies complete mastery. He's not just throwing everything at the wall to see what sticks. The source highlights surgical EQ, layered harmonic saturation, and buried field recordings.
Okay, stop there. Surgical EQ and harmonic saturation. Explain those like I'm 5 years old. Why should you or I care about them?
Okay, imagine a block of marble. A bad sculptor just hacks at it. A master sculptor uses a tiny chisel to define a single muscle. That's surgical EQ, cutting out specific frequencies of sound that are muddy or annoying so that everything else shines. And harmonic saturation. Think of an Instagram filter that makes a photo look warm and vintage. Saturation does that to sound. It adds digital warmth so it doesn't sound cold and robotic.
And the buried field recordings.
That's the real magic trick. Field recordings are real-world sounds, traffic, rain, voices in a cafe. By burying them low in the mix, he's creating a subconscious atmosphere. You might not actively hear the rain, but you feel the wet pavement. It's a lacquered collusion of low-end warmth. It is audiophile hip-hop.
That is wild. It's basically psychological manipulation through audio.
That's how great music is.
Very true. And you have Nobody Music, who seems to come from a darker place entirely. The report explicitly talks about engineering dark trap.
Right. And look at the detail in the source regarding his arrangement strategy. This isn't just making a beat. It's sound design and arrangement strategy. He focuses on punchy 808s, layered melodic textures, and South Side style rhythms.
But there's a specific note here that I found really interesting. He designs beats to leave space for vocals.
That is the mark of a true professional. A lot of amateur producers clutter the frequency spectrum. They just want to show off every single trick they know. Nobody Music, drawing on that Midwest and Detroit influence, understands that the beat is just a canvas. If you fill the canvas with paint before the rapper even gets there, there's no room for the art. It shows a highly disciplined approach.
So the technical is the artistic.
Exactly. The mixed discipline is the aesthetic.
Rounding out this sonic section, we have SQWID from Uptown City Records. The description here is so evocative, a midnight transmission from the city's underbelly.
I love that. It sets a scene immediately. SQWID is the texture master.
Brittle synth stabs, warped vocal samples, and kick drums that hit with textbook punch.
Again, we see this emphasis on the tactile nature of sound. It's hip-hop favoring texture over flash. It's not about a catchy melody you can whistle. It's about a mood that wraps around you. The report calls it claustrophobic widescreen.
Claustrophobic widescreen. That sounds like a paradox. How can something be wide and claustrophobic at the same time?
Think about being in a subway tunnel. It's huge, it's long, but the walls are right there. It echoes, but it feels tight. That's the sound. It feels big, but it's constantly pressing in on you. That is the sound of March 2026.
So we have these architects building these new sonic structures, but let's zoom out, way out, because this isn't just happening in a studio in Detroit or Niagara Falls. This is a global movement.
This brings us perfectly to Section 2, the global stage. And what we're seeing here are diasporic lanes. Artists are using their local culture, their specific geography, to influence global sounds.
Let's head to South Africa. We have Slime T 056. The track is Strata.
Now, context is key here. Strata isn't just a cool word. It essentially means the street. The source emphasizes it as a cultural movement. It represents hustle, groove, lifestyle.
And the specific location mentioned is Bothaville in the Free State.
Which is really important. We often generalize South African music as just Amapiano from Joburg, but Slime T056 is waving the flag for Bothaville. It's a smaller town, an agricultural hub. He talks about the evolution from Bostrada 1.0 to 2.0.
And the sound. The report describes log drums rattling like taximeters.
Okay, for the listener who hasn't gone down the Amapiano rabbit hole yet, the log drum is that signature sound. It's percussive, melodic, and bass-heavy all at once. It literally hits you in the chest. But linking it to taximeters is brilliant writing in the report.
Why taximeters specifically?
Because the minibus taxi industry in South Africa is basically the nervous system of the country. It's chaotic, it's loud, it's fast. By comparing the drums to taximeters, it grounds the music in the daily commute, the hustle of the street. It's raw street energy filtered through dance floor sensibilities.
Staying in South Africa, we have Islamic Sea, hailing from Newcastle, KwaZulu-Natal.
Another hyper-specific geography? Newcastle. Not England, not Australia, but South Africa.
His message is, it's about stepping up. A defiant sunrise over a city that grinds.
And sonically, he's interesting because he is mixing contemporary trap, which is a global sound. You hear it in Atlanta, London, Tokyo, with local cadence and grit. He's taking the language of American trap and speaking it with a KwaZulu-Natal accent, both literally and metaphorically.
Moving north to Nigeria, we have Melage ADC from Benin City. Now, this is where the cultural roots go really deep.
Very deep. This is the Edo culture connection. Benin City isn't just a city, it's the heart of the Edo kingdom. It has a history of art and bronzes that goes back centuries. Melage ADC isn't just rapping, he's blending traditional African rhythms, rattling shakers, palm-muted drums with modern street hip-hop.
The source says he is conveying the story of his culture.
That's the big distinction. It's not just using a local sample for flavor. It's about heritage. He is actively preserving the Edo identity within a modern format. It connects the ancestors to the algorithm.
The ancestors to the algorithm. That is a beautiful way to put it. We see a similar seriousness in Gasboy Zero. He calls himself an Afro hip-hop artist, but look at the words he uses. Real emotion, discipline, and growth.
Discipline is a word that just keeps coming up in this vanguard. Gasboy Zero describes his music as having purpose, clarity, and direction. Velvet vocals over patient bass. He's not rushing. He's not chasing a viral moment. He's building a legacy.
And speaking of building, let's look at Zimbabwe. Ramonyo is 209 from Bulawayo, the City of Kings.
Ramonyo Suni 9 is a great example of the modern hustle. He started with viral TikTok freestyles. That's the entry point for so many young artists today.
Right, he's releasing tracks like Vimba and Asibambeki. But here is the detail that really caught my eye. He is laying the groundwork for vinyl and merchandise.
That is huge. Think about it. We are in 2026. Who buys vinyl? Collectors. Superfans. In a digital streaming era where a stream pays a fraction of a penny, to think about vinyl, a physical, heavy, costly format to produce, shows he's thinking about a long-term brand. He's thinking about the physical artifact, not just the digital file.
That segues perfectly into our next section. Because if Ramonyo 29 is thinking about branding, these next artists are thinking about empire.
Section 3. The Independent Moguls.
This is where the shift from artist to CEO becomes absolutely undeniable. And we have to start with the prime example. Only One Siege.
Siege. Stephen Smith. The source calls him the self-made mogul blueprint.
I mean, just listen to the names of the entities he has founded. He didn't just release a song. He founded Moguls Overthrow Elites Publishing, Money Hungry Mafia LLC, and Stain XHNGRY Clothing.
The names are aggressive. They are statements. Moguls Overthrow Elites. He is explicitly stating his mission to dismantle the traditional power structure of the industry.
And he has the credentials to back it up. The source notes he holds an associate's degree in art in business of administration.
You know, usually in hip-hop, we hear about street credentials. I sold drugs, I went to jail. Only One Siege is flipping that completely. He's saying, no, my credential is that I know how to read a contract.
Why is that so revolutionary right now?
Because the entire history of music is the history of artists getting ripped off. From Little Richard to TLC, artists make the art and labels make the money. Only One Siege is positioning himself as a multi-entity CEO. It's vertical integration. The clothing line feeds the brand, the publishing company protects the rights, the LLC manages the money.
His philosophy is breaking the label trap. He refuses to sell his soul. He wants complete creative control.
And financial ownership. That is the key. By owning the publishing via Moguls Overthrow Elites, He owns the long-term value of the asset. He's not renting his talent. He's building equity.
It's a paradigm shift. And we see a similar hybrid approach with AHKDIGITALZ.
AHKDIGITALZ, based in Odenton, Maryland, and Goldsboro, North Carolina.
She runs the Lefslin Beats label, which is cool, but she also runs a fashion line called AHKDIGITALZ Designer Footwear.
Her tagline is brilliant. Sound where you can feel.
Oh, where?
It creates this synesthetic connection. You wear the shoes, you feel the beat. It's a total lifestyle brand.
There is a great anecdote in the source about her that I think really grounds this reality. She planned to promote her song, Country Trap Queen, and her shoes at the Boots on the Ground two-step dance competition in Zebulon, North Carolina.
A very specific local event, Zebulon, North Carolina.
But she faced transportation issues and couldn't make it.
But the fact that the plan existed tells us everything we need to know. She wasn't trying to get on some generic Spotify playlist curated by an algorithm. She was trying to get her shoes on the ground at a step competition to promote a song called Country Trap Queen. That is hyper-local, integrated marketing.
It feels more real, doesn't it? Even the failure to get there feels real. It's not a polished PR press release.
Exactly. It's the convergence of product and art with all the messiness of real life mixed in.
And then we have the one-stop shop, Yo Boy from Carbondale, Illinois.
Yo Boy is the chameleon. He runs Flytech Productions and Beats Yo Boy Inc.
He does mixing, mastering, songwriting, and artist development.
He's the entire infrastructure. And he's seeing real success with it. He was selected in the debut top 350 artists out of a pool of 1,500, chasing a $10,000 prize.
Now, $10,000 might not sound like a lot to a major label executive, but for an indie artist in Carbondale, Illinois,
that is life-changing capital. That buys a new workstation, a tour van, or just rent for a year so you can focus entirely on the art. And being a chameleon means he can survive anywhere. He's not tied to one sound. He provides the service. In the gig economy of 2026, he is the ultimate survivor.
So we've got the sonic architects building the sound and the moguls building the business. But what are they actually saying? What are the lyrics about in March 2026?
This brings us to Section 4, the new lyricism. And the headline here is a massive move away from hollow bravado toward lived experience and accountability.
Let's talk about Roots Lane. The quote that really stood out for me was, Roots Lane doesn't rap about the streets, he raps from them.
It's a subtle but really powerful distinction. About implies you're an observer, maybe watching from a safe distance in a penthouse. From R, it implies you're a participant. You are in it.
He was raised on thin walls, loud nights, and late shift jobs.
That late shift job detail grounds it so well. This isn't the glamour of the drug trade like we saw romanticized in the 90s. This is the grind of the working poor, the gig economy. The source calls his vibe a news report with a heartbeat.
News report with a heartbeat. No costume pain, just sharpened bars.
Costume pain. That is a scathing critique of a lot of mainstream rap. You know, rich guys pretending to be suffering for street cred. Roots Lane is offering the antidote. He's reporting live from the thin walls.
And then there is Bank Boy from New Orleans, representing Blackheart Ent.
New Orleans has such a rich history of struggle in music. Bank Boy fits right into that lineage. His narrative is the classic redemption arc, but with a twist. He's lived on both sides of the fence, in and out of jail. But now he is actively transitioning to calming down.
The focus is on the struggle between good and evil, but he emphasizes thankfulness.
That's the twist. Gratitude. It's described as a map for listeners who want realism with a hopeful cadence. Usually, realism in rap means bleak. Bank Boy is saying, no, it's real, but I'm grateful to be out of it. He's showing the way out.
And if Bank Boy is the map, Thatho3 is the mirror.
Thatho3. His mantra is, can't see out changing the world until you change with yourself.
And he calls people out. Don't say you've been there and you done that and you don't do that shit yourself.
It's accountability rap. It completely flips the script. Usually the flex in rap is about how much money you have or how tough you are. Thatho3 makes self-change the real flex.
It's like, I'm going to therapy and working on myself. What are you doing?
Exactly. It's internal work made public. It's stoicism set to a beat.
Now, not everyone is in this reflective, quiet zone. We still have that high-octane energy. We have the new school energy with Youngren.
Youngren or Big Boy Don. The term used for him in the report is pugilistic confidence.
Pugilistic, like a prize fighter.
His beats hit like a knockout punch. His track, This Is It, featuring Kingfish, fuses rap's golden era lyricism. You have complex rhyme schemes, metaphors with new school grit.
So he's got the intricate bars of the 90s, but the sheer aggression of 2026.
Precisely. And then you have M-Poppin' 43 from Kaufman, Texas.
Kaufman, Texas. Again, not a major hip-hop hub by any stretch.
And yet, he is putting up real numbers. 125,000 plays on the Rap Fame platform.
Rap Fame platform. That's a specific ecosystem I hadn't heard much about before this.
It shows where the underground is really living now. It's not just SoundCloud anymore. There are these niche platforms where very tight communities form. And his sound is that dirty South sound. 140-plus BPM trap anthems like Black Truck and Money Motives.
100 BPM is fast. That is high, high energy.
It's music for driving fast. It's music for pure adrenaline. It's the counterbalance to all that introspection we just talked about. Because sometimes you want to think and sometimes you just want to move.
So we have the adrenaline, we have the accountability, but there is also a much softer side to this vanguard. Section 5 is all about intimacy and atmosphere.
Pocket-sized worlds. This is where we see true vulnerability.
Let's revisit JAYBUDDZ from Niagara Falls. We talked about him a bit earlier, but we need to look at his themes. He does trap, but he explores love, loss, ambition, and betrayal.
The source notes he is unapologetically explicit, but extremely vulnerable. Yeah. It's influences like Post Malone coming through. It's the sad boy aesthetic, but toughened up for the trap scene. It's okay to have feelings as long as the bass is hitting hard.
And then there's Crystal 789. Her track BJ to Rio is fascinating to me.
The story behind it is lovely. It's about a first private lover, but the key perspective is that it's actually not a breakup song.
Right. The source says fate had to split you, but the song is entirely about appreciating the bond.
It's a quiet corrective to breakup anthems. Think about pop music, Adele, Taylor Swift, Olivia Rodrigo. It's usually about how you wronged me. Crystal 789 is saying, no, it didn't work out, but I can just be grateful for the time we had. That is a very mature, intimate emotion to put on a rap or R&B track.
Let's talk about the modern R&B landscape. We have CDOUGHGG, also known as $1 Million Vision.
This is where the communication style of 2026 really shines through. His track description is literally a little love song for Lil Shorty.
Lowercase. Super casual.
And the aesthetic uses emojis, a shark, an ocean, a dancer, and shoutouts like LLJ-Dub as aesthetic shorthand.
So if you know, you know.
Exactly. It translates a simple love song into shared shorthand for a generation fluent in emojis. It's coded intimacy. It's not trying to speak to everyone. It's speaking directly to people who speak that exact language.
Then there is 1122 Quiet Vibes. Born in Beaumont, Texas, raised in St. Louis.
The ethos here is beautiful. You stay loved when there's no love.
The sound is described as sunlight through stained glass.
Motivational but sensual. That is a very hard mix to pull off. It's church and the bedroom at the exact same time. It's spiritual R&B.
And we have Hope Peasy, who is a professional teacher.
Doing this since 2007, inspired by Yee. His track is Just Doing What I Love.
I love that so much. A teacher by day, R&B producer by night. It shows that steady dedication refines a voice. He's not desperate for fame, he's just doing the work.
And finally, rounding it out, we have JAYBUDDZ and DJ-MAJESTIK.
JAYBUDDZ says, I make the music different. The focus is on the story behind the music and the process of creation itself.
In DJ-MAJESTIK, his proposition is wonderfully simple. I am a DJ. I make club music. All caps.
But the sound is satin-smooth chord progressions.
He's bringing club energy into R&B and soul. He's smoothing out the harsh edges of the club experience.
So what does this all mean for us? We've looked at the stack, we've seen the money-hungry mafia of Only One Siege, we've seen the teacher-producer vibes of Hope Peasy, we've been to Niagara Falls, Bothaville, Kaufman, and Benin City.
When you synthesize this entire deep dive, the common thread is authenticity. But not just keeping it real in the old 90s sense. It's about world building.
Authenticity as world building. Explain that for me.
Well, look at them. Whether it's Roots Lane rapping about late rent or AHKDIGITALZ designing shoes to match her beats, everyone is building their specific world. They aren't waiting for a label to build it for them. They are creating the ecosystem themselves.
They are the new urban vanguard. They are mastering their hands, exactly as Dathu says. They are engineering their own empires, like NOBODYMUSIC.
And this raises a really important question for you, the listener.
Here's where it gets really interesting.
We live in a world of algorithm-friendly music. Spotify and Apple Music want songs that sound exactly the same, so they fit cleanly on a playlist called Chill Vibes or Workout Mode. But here, we are seeing a massive return to hyperspecificity. We have local slang from Bothaville. We have highly specific stories from Kaufman, Texas. We have step competitions in Zebulon, North Carolina.
It is the absolute opposite of generic.
Exactly. So does this mean the future of global music is actually becoming more local, more personal rather than more generic?
Maybe the only way to truly go global now is to be intensely local first.
I think that's exactly it. You can't reach everyone by trying to be everything. You reach everyone by being exactly who you are, exactly where you are.
That is a powerful, provocative thought to leave you with. So, to you listening, check out these artists. Engage with intentional patronage. Buy the vinyl from Ramonia at 029. Check out the shoes from AHKDIGITALZ. Support these independent voices because they are building the future of culture right in front of us.
Absolutely. Support the builders. Thanks for listening.
Catch you on the next Deep Dive.